Hey guys, Kate 420 back again. I don't even know what number this is. You know why? Because I'm back. All right. So help me God, I'm going to knock this thing over. Okay. Now, this is my video for today that I was planning on doing. I hope you all enjoyed the quick Kevin Hart thing. Wasn't a lot of answers, but maybe we should be asking questions. Everybody says, "Oh, it's a serious accident. His spine was fused." Well, there's nothing wrong with asking questions. And if you don't ask questions while things are going on around you, you might not notice that there's a narrative. And when I say a narrative, I mean a lot of times you hear that word and then you probably just go in one ear and out the other. But when I mean a narrative, I mean like a story. There's a story being told. And I know that sometimes it's not very visible until somebody puts the dots together for you. So today, I hope you stick around because I'm going to put some dots together for you. And as parents, this might be hard because I have 6 kids. I've been here to watch these school shootings. I'm a mother of a child who, a year ago, 2 years ago, 2 years, well, last year there was a bomb threat, and the year before that was um, the student who had threatened on social media that he was going to bring a gun to school. So um, I've been there. But I never in any of that time have felt that the answer was less guns or less legal people owning guns or any any reason to think that a black Armalite gun is more dangerous or scary to me than a Glock. Those things have never crossed my mind because I have common sense. And I don't let these news stations and these, um, hyperbolic reports get me all crazy in the head. I'm Kate 420. I like to stay calm. If you no, wait a minute, no. There we go. If you notice. I'm gonna figure that one out one day. And I'm gonna figure out how not to hit my long legs on my desk. All right, guys, let's get to work because this is a long one. I'll try to go through it as fast as I can, but it's a lot of information. Dots together as quick as I possibly can. And please, if you have any questions or you have any comments you want to debate about this, I love to discuss this stuff with people who have an opposite opinion because sometimes we can give each other information that may not change our mind, but may make us more open-minded to the other side, and that's kind of how I made myself over to this side. Because as most of you know me, I was a Bernie fanatic in 2015 and early 2016. And I had only voted Democrat all my life until the 2016 vote. So a lot has changed in my life. It had nothing to do with social media, I can promise you. It had all to do with me actually opening my eyes to pay attention and go, wait a minute. I think that news story and that news story and that news story actually have something to do with each other, and they're all together trying to get me to think a certain thing, even though that's not what I believe in at all, or that it doesn't even make common sense. It doesn't make sense to me, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So let's go. All right. So, 5 things to know. First of all, before I say the 5 things, you must know this. Walmart has got some new gun policies. We obviously know why. There was a terrible shooting in El Paso, and there's actually a little bit more to it. So let's get into why. But there's 5 things to know about their new gun policy, okay? And that gun policy is that regardless of whether or not you're in an open carry state, they're asking customers to refrain from openly carrying your firearms in the store. Um, and it's casting a big problem. They know they had to weigh before they put this announcement out. They had to weigh the amount of business that they were willing to lose over this virtue signaling. How many billions are the Waltons willing to give up so that the Democrats can have this giant virtue signal BJ right before the 2020 election, because that's what this is. This is what they do. There's a playbook that Democrats follow every election season, and I like my old friend Hannity always says, it's the racist, 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 homophobic, homophobic, feed my grandmother to the wolves. It just goes down the list of things, and it's so true. Exactly, they don't change a thing. You don't even have to try to guess what these people's next move is going to be. All you have to know is what they did 4, 8, 12, and 16 effing years ago, because that's exactly what they're going to do this time. So when I say that, know this: Walmart and Kroger have joined together and asked that if you are in an open carry state, do not bring your guns into their store. Please. Now, they haven't said, if you do, we are going to do this. They're asking us to be the responsible virtue signaler and no longer do that. Walmart is also taking this extra step of announcing it will no longer sell certain ammunition, including bullets for handguns, assault style rifles. Love that word, guys. I really wish they'd have a definition right to that, and right next to that, it should be in blue instead of also announced assault style rifles. That should be in blue so people could click on that, because I guarantee what I consider an assault style rifle and what you consider an assault style rifle, well, maybe not my listeners, but what the average American considers an assault style rifle, or the average Democrat. Maybe we're pretty smart nowadays. It's not that I say we're stupid. It's just, and we're not even uninformed. The information is there, but sometimes you can be brainwashed when you're caught up with your tribe, especially in that first, when you're between 18 and 25 type thing. I really believe that's when they take advantage of public education and all that stuff they shoved into them back then. All right, so you can't come in their stores with guns. Sorry. They're not gonna sell this certain ammunition. They're also gonna focus on a campaign of gun control by activists and others. Oh, this was about the El Paso shooting last month. Blah blah blah. Not that that's a blah blah blah, but I'm just saying. Hang on, what just happened? Are they legally allowed to do this? Yes. While laws vary from state to state, businesses can generally are allowed to ban people from bringing certain items into their store. It's just kind of like having to have certain items with you or on you to get in their store. Just like a restaurant that won't allow you in without a suit jacket. Literally, I know that my Second Amendment right friends are banging their heads right now saying, well, I want to, I want to, I want to. Well, let me show you something. Sometimes we have to use our common sense. I'm not saying it's okay to change a law. No, what it is okay to do is what we conservatives believe in, and that's run a private business. And in that private business, you are allowed to determine what, who, and how people will behave in your location. And just like you must wear a shirt, you must wear shoes, you may not bring a dog unless it has a service dog thing on it. There's so many different examples of this, but there's always that one person. Yeah. And what kills me is I knew someone was going to do this. I just didn't realize they were going to do it so quickly. Armed man at Walmart says he was testing the right to bear arms. Oh, please don't do that. It's going to freeze. Hold on. Do. Maybe it get to load. There we go. All right, now this will load again. Oh, I did it. Hang on. I can pull it back up quickly. Armed man. There you go. Sorry, guys. I didn't want it to freeze, and it looked like it was gonna freeze. This Chrome is really ridiculous. I should probably learn to do things on a different. I've got Brave, I've got Microsoft, Windows. I've got 100 different. I don't have time to learn something else right now or to work on something. This takes the least amount of time, but it also has the most pain in the butt. So, armed man at Walmart says he was testing his right to bear arms. Well, guess what happened to that armed man? Last I knew, they were charging him as a terrorist, and he was completely legal in this act. This was a man from Springfield. What is it, Missouri or Minnesota? Or wait a minute, what is that one, guys? Yeah, Missouri. I was right the first time. Prosecutors Friday, and I gave you a video on this a couple weeks back. Go ahead and look back. I did a quick video on this. This man was charged with terrorism. I can't say his name real well, but prosecutors on Friday filed a terrorist threat charge against a 20-year-old man who said he walked into a Missouri store wearing body armor and carrying a loaded rifle and handgun to test whether Walmart would honor his constitutional right to bear arms. The incident, just days after 22 people were killed during an attack at another Walmart in El Paso, Texas, caused panic at the Springfield, Missouri store. Dmitry and Andreychenko, there we go, walked through, filming himself with his cell phone Thursday afternoon. No shots were fired, and Andreychenko was arrested after he was stopped by another armed off-duty firefighter at the store. So you're telling me that even though this guy didn't commit a crime with his gun inside the Walmart, it just scared a bunch of people because it happened within days after a massacre, that it was still a good guy with a gun that saved the store and not a Walmart security, not the local police department? That you mean they didn't tackle him with a cart? No, it was still a good guy, an average, everyday legal citizen who owned his own legal weapon that stopped what could have been, in his eyes, okay, a crime. So my point to this is, why would we want, if that man right there wouldn't have had his gun that day to stop this kid? And who knows, as they all say, he may have been there for nefarious reasons. You want me to believe that? Okay, I'm gonna throw it back at you. They're charging him with terrorism to prove a point because he wanted to prove a point. So now they're going to make an example out of this 20-year-old boy because he's caught up in the middle of the most heated election season and a really, really stupid decision. Next. Oh, goodness. Now, I just want to briefly show you the states that would be affected by this Walmart, Kroger, open carry policy, where Kroger is just saying they also would like you to not openly carry. I don't know why anything's not loading until I reload it. Ugh. Anyway, they're saying they would like you to also please not openly carry in the stores, even though they know that, the state is legal, but they as Walmart or Kroger is a legal private entity, they have the right to do so, like I said. And that's where we have to use our common sense. Our common sense tells us that even if you're a liberal, we're not saying this isn't like a giant corporation here. This is just, this is us. We're individual citizens making a right to say, okay, I want to be able to make money and do it the capitalistic way. So I respect this store's right to do it, even though I want to also be able to carry my firearm. I know that may have limitations, just like it has limitation. I can open carry in one state, but I might not be able to openly carry that same gun into another state. Why? Because that state has its own private companies, its own private businesses, and its own private laws. So, open carry states in 2019. All right, here it is. It looks like, a good majority. You've got a good majority of the country. Ohio, some states over here around New York. Like I could not leave a state. I couldn't leave Ohio with my legal weapon hanging off my hip where I just came out of Walgreens and then drive to New York to my Aunt Sally's and still carry that gun out on my hip and swing into the bodega to get gas and run inside to pay because I'm not licensed to open carry in New York. There is no open carry in New York. Their gun policies are different. The gun is registered for the state of Ohio. There's a million reasons. I'm not going to name off any gun owner or person who's had a gun in their home because someone else in their home owned it should know these rules. Each state is different. But these are a lot of states affected. And I know that my state personally may not be affected by this business decision, but I know how many Walmarts we have. And we're a tiny state. Some of these are some big states. And the reason I say that, okay, is okay, you figured two of my states fit into here. So um, if I've got 100 Walmarts in my state, that might be, say, 200 to 300, 200 to 250 Walmarts there. I'm gonna look into this, but I really am wondering how many Walmarts and Krogers are affected by this, and did they really do the one thing that businesses always do when they make these decisions? They always have somebody who finds the bottom line. And what I mean by that is that somewhere down the road, just like when you have like a park that goes bad on a car and then it happens again to another 150 cars, and then they have to decide whether they're going to, not repo, but oh, the word just slipped my mind. What is it? Anyhow, you know what I'm talking about, and they may have to, have you bring the vehicle in and whatnot because a part needs to be put on it that was missing, and without that part, these fatal accidents are happening. Same thing here, in that case, is the way geez, boy, I got way off track, didn't I? All right. I wanted you to see a lot of states are going to be affected, and I can't imagine. Yeah, see, I mean, California is the population of almost 40 million, you guys. So I just don't understand how Walmart can afford that big of a loss of business if Republicans that are all in open carry states are going to band together and never go into Walmart or Kroger's again until they change their policy. They could see a huge revenue drop over there. I don't care if anybody thinks it's a drop in the bucket or not. Next, I have seen enough articles on right and left and fact checking sites about whether or not more people are killed with hammers every year than rifles. Now, when you are talking about an AR-15 or an AK, and the scary black guns, those are rifles. Shotguns are guns that are used in hunting. Those are the ones you think of your grandfather with, whatever you load the big long slugs into. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is the FBI. See the top? FBI, and this is the UCR, the crime statistics. Now, this obviously is 2011, but this is when the report was from. Okay, um, this is murder circumstances by weapon. Now, you can go through all this and figure out whatever you want, but the answer to your question is in line number 1. Yes, blunt objects, hammers, clubs, etc. 496 murders took place by blunt objects, clubs, hammers, etc. If you move over, shotguns, well, they killed more than shotguns did. Rifles, yep, they killed more than rifles. Those AKs and AR, scaries, all those, right? only handguns, the ones that we're always not talking about regulating, the one that causes most of the shootings in Chicago and in the inner cities, they had about 6,220 shootings in 2011. And I'm sure that when the FBI does do another one of these again, that the numbers will have increased. However, I don't think that there'll be any difference in, I think it'll still be blunt objects, shotguns, or excuse me, rifles and then shotguns. Because in all honesty, more people were killed with shotguns than the AKs or ARs. So stop letting these scary is it like a secret? Is what if they were painted purple? If they weren't black, would they scare you? I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Who knows? Maybe you Democrats have a tinge of racism that you don't know about. Yes, I snorted. Next. On to the next one. On to the next one. This might be why Walmart has decided to virtue signal so hard and so, you know, juicily today. This happened yesterday. Family sues Walmart after both parents were shot in the El Paso attack. Well, I kind of looked into this too, and this isn't so very rare, guys. A lot of these mass shooting victims who the shooter was either killed in the arrest or whose shooter is being prosecuted, but basically there's nothing to take him for. They're suing the establishments, guys. And Jessica and Guillermo Garcia were both wounded in August at the El Paso shooting that killed 22 people. Now they're suing. They're saying that Walmart failed to fulfill its legal responsibility to protect its customers, that there's no security guards present to patrol the store. I've never seen security guards patrolling the store. So if you guys in El Paso, Texas have security guards, then where I'm at, we're getting shorted because I have felt very uncomfortable in my Walmart many times for a whole nother reason. And it sure would have been nice to have a security guard to, I don't know, make those people behave. And then it says the El Paso City Council has explored the possibility of requiring stores to deploy armed security guards. Now, wow, why would they want them armed? I don't know, maybe so that a good guy with a gun can stop a bad guy before a cop can get there. So, on a lawsuit filed on behalf of the family in which both parents were wounded, the petition was filed with El Paso County. I basically she says that she told outlets her husband stood in front of her during the attack, blocking bullets fired from the shooting. She was hospitalized but has since been released. She shot multiple times in the spine. Guillermo has had dozens of surgeries and remains hospitalized in critical condition, according to the couple's attorney and his GoFundMe page. Yeah, whatever. I don't like to talk about GoFundMe's. I think that there's just too much scamming going on with them. There's only very few people that are actually doing the right thing with those. Anyway, that's a whole. It's like the new credit card scam thing, but it's a GoFundMe. It's these little tiny, these little tiny charity scams that'll help me with hospital money scams. Okay, guys. This is why I say connect the dots, okay? Because now we've seen everything up until now, the mass shootings, the outrage, the outcry from the community to do something, do anything. But the problem is when you respond that way and not calm and rationally and think it through, usually the something that gets done is something that has consequences in another part of our lives, or it was exactly the thing they wanted you to say to do, and therefore they set you up like a you're the prey and they're the birds flying over, and they basically just drove you to that area until all three could corner you and tear you apart. That's really a rough but that's how I see these guys. I know it's terrible, but that's how I see them at this point. I never knew that there was such evil underneath all this politics. 2020 Dems ramp up calls to mandate assault weapon buybacks. Quote, all of them. Not sure how good it's gonna work. I'm really getting tired of playing some of these websites videos. Are coded to basically screw up if you're recording because they don't want you to use their stuff. But even though hello, you see it's Fox News, they're getting credit for it. Maybe not. Hmm. What if I do it in the middle? I don't even think it really matters, but in the wake of the recent deadly mass shootings, presidential candidates are stepping up for the federal government to start buying firearms from the gun owners. I love how they say that like we're all just waving our guns in the air saying, "Here, buy mine, buy mine." I saw another one today where it was the conservative twins, y'all. You gotta go check them out. They are bomb. They actually do a comedy tour. Sorry. And he was like, he's holding his gun in his hand in the video. And I'm laughing, sorry. And he's like, "Yeah, you can buy my gun back." He's like, "I want 500,000. I want a 500,000, not a penny less," he says. And it's funny because it's like nobody's out there waving their gun going, "Here, come get mine for I want mine," I want they're gonna give you some voucher. Like they have you ever had talk to Chicago, guys. They've had some gun buybacks in Chicago. Only one guy, the last guy to have the gun buyback in Chicago, he's not around to talk about it. He used to be a YouTuber. His name was Zach TV. He actually did, I think, a series of 5 gun buybacks in the city of Chicago. Many people were very disappointed because he was only allowed to give out certain gift cards or prepaid credit cards with $200 on them, but a lot of things were really screwed over about that. And a lot of people didn't get what they thought they were going to get but after they turned their weapon over, put it that way. Oh, look at that. Chicago mayor clashes with Cruz over gun violence. Keep our name out of your mouth. Oh, Chicago, you really just need to just stay out of stuff. Not Chicago, the Chicago mayor. She's always in the middle of everything now. All right, Beto O'Rourke, or as he likes to be called, Beto O'Rourke, but his real name is Robert Francis. So I like to refer to him as Robert Francis because I'm tired of people telling me that I have to refer to them as something that, listen, if your name is Beto and you want to be called Beto, then your name is Beto. But you only want to be called that when you're out in public dancing around on the stage. When you're with your family and friends, they all call you Robert Francis. We already know because I've seen the behind the scenes videos of you and your family. Anywho, I was asked how I'd address people's fears that we will take away their assault rifles. I want to be clear. He tries to be so Kennedy like, and he's so not. That's exactly what we're going to do, he said. Look, I want you to understand when I say that if anybody that owns a gun votes for this man, you have lost your goddamn mind. You have no common sense, and you deserve whatever happens to you. He said, I want to be clear because this was about addressing people's fears. He will take away their assault rifles, but there is no such thing. Anyhow, he said, I want to be clear. That's exactly what we're going to do. Americans who own AR 15s and AK 47s will have to sell. Not do you want to, not to volunteer. Again, you will have to sell your assault weapons. All of them. Now, let me just remind you, I don't know, some of you might be young. I know that I'm not that old. I'm old enough, but I know that Obama really was the first first time we voted Obama in. Obama in was the really my first time being into politics and into caring about who got into office, and started to teach myself about my own values and what was important to me and what party more catered to those values. So about 2012, I'm sure if you were alive and in your late 20, early 30s at the time, you may have even been paying attention. If not, it doesn't surprise me if a lot of people weren't, but a very similar narrative to what's going on. Why is this continuing to load? Hold on. Sorry, guys. A very similar narrative was continuing in the United States, continuing in Venezuela, excuse me, that's going on now in the United States. So here we go. March 6, 2012. Hugo Chavez fighting crime by disarming innocent people. That's exactly what they're saying here. We need to stop crime, so we're going to take the innocent people's guns away. And then hopefully those criminals, they see them as role models and they want to be like them. And so then they will come bring us their guns too. Yeah, that's going to work out real great. Good luck with that. And I really hope you trust your local police department, the ones who can't even be bothered to defend you against Antifa, to protect you against this, against they're going to be the only ones with weapons, so they're going to have to protect us against all crime. We're going to be completely reliable on them. Anyway, Venezuela, Caracas, Venezuela, March of 2012. An annual murder rate as high as 67 homicides per every 100,000 inhabitants in this country. Hugo Chavez is about to show the world that he is tough on crime, at least the non-governmental kind. Chavez's government claims 98% of the homicides in Venezuela involve firearms. His resolution: restrict firearm ownership. Okay. In recent remarks to the Latin America Herald Tribune, Venezuela Interior and Justice Minister Tareck El Assimi announced that the government will be suspending firearm importation effective this month. So no more getting guns in. That was in 2012. Local gunsmiths will no longer be able to market or sell firearms or ammunitions. Okay, so now it's September 2019. Walmart has just said you can no longer bring your gun into their store. They are just not comfortable with that. We're going to make that a rule now, even though we know we could lose millions. On top of that, we're going to give up millions that we're making every year selling AR-15s and AK-47s and the ammunition to go with them and handguns. They are literally going to probably lose $1 billion or more from this single decision alone. Why? Why are they okay with that? Anyway, what was that? Oh, yeah, in Venezuela, they will no longer be able to market or sell firearms and ammunition, kind of like Walmart is doing. According to El Assimi, as of March, every last gun shop remaining in Venezuela, and there are less than 80, should be closed. That is to say, in Venezuela, the perverse chapter of the commercialization of firearms and munitions is over. Ooh, that sounds like a Democratic phrase if I've ever heard one. The perverse chapter of the commercialization of firearms and munitions is over. That's beautiful. They ought to wrap that up in a big fat bow called the Patriot Statement or some crap like that, because that's what all these beautiful, sweet legislations end up turning out to be, right? They ought to fix the problem, he says. Murderous criminals, that ought to fix the problem, he says. Murderous criminals obviously have no means of acquiring firearms illegally. Oh, really? So basically, he's saying that once he takes all the legal guns, then the murderous criminals will have no way to steal them from you and kill someone, because apparently that's the only way they can get them or have you buy them for them illegally. Hapless victims clearly prefer to defend themselves with soup spoons and Thai bowl lessons. Apparently, Hugo Chavez is simply unwilling to accept having only the fourth highest murder rate in the world. In disarming his people, Chavez is clearly shooting for the top spot and absolutely will not stop until Venezuela surpasses its rivals. Watch out, Ivory Coast, El Salvador, and Honduras. Wow. March of 2012. Let's see how things were going. We're going to check back in with Venezuela. Last year, I think, 2018, we checked back in with them, see how things were going. December, yeah, that was not even a year ago. About, half, 3 more, so about 9 months ago. All right. So 9 months ago, Venezuela now regret giving up their guns. This is what happens to a disarmed populace. 2012, Venezuela's dictator for life, President Hugo Chavez had his rubber stamp legislator pass the Control of Arms, Munition, and Disarmament Law. The public generally supported it at the time. The law stripped law abiding Venezuelans of every firearm and every round of ammunition they could legally own. As the country and its citizens have increasingly benefited from the wonders of the Bolivarian socialism, it appears to the public that the public now regrets their support for the total civilian disarmament. Guns would have served as a vital pillar to the remaining free people, or at least able to put up a fight. Javier Venegas, 28, of Venezuela, teacher of English, now exiled in Ecuador, told Fox News. The government security forces at the beginning of this debacle knew they had no real opposition to their force. Once things were this bad, it was a clear declaration of war against the unarmed population. If only the citizens of Venezuela had the right to keep and bear arms as a check against government tyranny, like we free Americans do. I added that in there. Once again, another nation demonstrates what can and frequently does happen to a disarmed populace. The despotism pushed by the authoritarian ruling class can proceed full force with no realistic threat of opposition from the people they subjugate. As the corruption, theft, graft, and the fleecing of the treasury and the people continues, the public is reduced to literally picking through trash for food as millions flee the country. So my last question is basically what anybody that's looking into this whole situation would probably ask, right? I mean, at the end of the day, doesn't it come down to how many lives are saved by guns anyway? Well, while looking at that, I found the most ridiculous piece of information that I wonder if a lot of people even know this. So I'm going to share this little tidbit with you tonight, and then we're going to be done. And I'll see you tomorrow. First of all, 3 things. First, how many lives are saved each year through the use of firearms? We know that for the last several years, according to the CDC, which tracks all U.S. deaths by cause, roughly 11,000 lives have been lost through non-suicide deaths involving a firearm. Why ignore gun suicides? There's a long story. It keeps going on, but the main part that makes sense down here. Overall suicide rate remained unchanged. Men over 55 simply resorted to other means to kill themselves. Basically, they did a study and it didn't change. But that has not. This is what's important. Here we go. As for determining how many lives are saved by guns, regulations bar the CDC from conducting original research. I'm not kidding. The CDC cannot do original research to keep track of how many people report that they were mugged and they were carrying their firearm and that prevented the crime from continuing, or they were a victim of an assault but they were able to stop the assault when they reached their gun. These things are not kept track of. There's never been a study. The closest thing was when Barack Obama issued an executive order after Sandy Hook, allowing the agency to review existing studies on causes and ways to reduce gun violence. As to uses of guns, studies that directly assessed the effect of actual defensive uses of guns. Oh, I just read that twice. Damn it. Sorry, guys. Incidents, yeah, no, okay, we're not reading that one again. Use incidents in which a gun was used. Boy, this stuff kinda runs together. I tried to highlight it, but anyway, I need to get my reading glasses when I start getting this far into it. There we go. Studies that directly assess the effect of the actual defensive uses of guns, incidences which a gun was used by the crime victim in the sense of attacking or threatening an offender, have found consistent lower injury rates among gun-using victims. That means, at the end result, they have found that the person who has used a gun, a crime victim who has used a gun, consistently has less or lower injury rates than people who use other self-protective strategies. And at the end of that study, they were able to determine somewhere between, this is a huge number, guys, I'm sorry, but that's because the research is so broad, because they're not allowed to actually do specific research. So estimates of annual uses range from about 500,000 to more than 3 million. And it says, in context, about 300,000 violent crimes involve firearms per year. So if there's 300,000 violent crimes involving guns, that was in 2008, and that 500,000 to 3 million people each year, they estimate, are being saved because of a gun.